Hey folks, the Shadow Empire Republica DLC has been announced. The developer Rick Rikers has put a thing up here, and so before I talk about this, just so you know, I'm acting as an influencer here. Okay, I actually I've done a bit of work here and there with Vic on Shadow Empire, just helped him out in like some unofficial capacities, and so yeah, I have got a horse in the race here. I'm not acting as a critic. I'm acting as an influencer. Okay, I want to make that quite clear. Really, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I really want to get eyes on Republica. I think it's an interesting thing that's coming in. Now, I don't know much about this at all. Vic has not talked to me very much about this at all, and I've not asked him really, because I quite like the surprise as well. So this was a surprise to me, even though I talk to him quite often. So yeah, let's have a look at it. So we're going to read through this. It's official. 2 years after the release of the Oceania DLC, a new chapter is coming to the award-winning 4X wargame Shadow Empire. Republica DLC, a new political era in Shadow Empire. The Republica DLC expands Shadow Empire's political systems, adding new layers of realism, challenge and replayability, manage societal decay, pass laws, confront a paranoid computer, and navigate evolving forms of government. A major addition is Virtues, a system that represents the collective will of society. Under its influence, democracies can decay into dysfunctional states, meritocracies into oligarchies, and autocracies into tyrannies. Players must confront this instability with careful strategy, political manoeuvring, or even radical actions like revolutions or adopting extreme governments such as aristocracy or fanatical autocracy. The DLC also introduces political bodies that vote on laws, creating unpredictable shifts in power. While laws can offer powerful benefits, they also come at a cost, forcing players to either adapt or resort to authoritarian control. Okay, so, and then there's an appeal to wishlist it. So yeah, definitely go and do that, guys. So what I'm going to say... I was watching Daz Tactic do a live stream on this, and I actually came to it late. So, but I was watching, and he spent most of the time actually talking about Oceania, which I thought was pretty interesting. But then he kind of went over and had a look at sort of some of the stuff that was going to be in this. If you actually go and check Vic's site, vrdesigns.net, I think it is, then there's a roadmap on there which might give you a little bit more kind of information about what's coming in this DLC. But if we just go and have a look at the actual DLC page, there's going to be a little bit more information here. So yeah, I'm not going to go and read through all this. Go and check it out anyway. It looks interesting to me. There's going to be a whole bunch of political systems, laws. Yeah, Syndic computer is ready to be installed. Beware, possibly paranoid. I like it. There's loads of stuff. Military coups, popular revolts. So just to kind of like to sort of frame what Daz was saying a little bit as well. The Oceania DLC, I think when it came out, I kind of feel that the Shadow Empire kind of became the victim of player expectation there a little bit, and so it's a DLC based on ocean planets essentially, and I think people were expecting fully controllable navies, which they did not get, and I can completely understand why some people really didn't like that. It's a real shame though, because Oceania actually, in terms of mechanics and quality of content, is very, very high in my opinion. Now, yeah, again, just bear with me, guys, because you know that I'm, as I say, I am acting as an influencer. Yeah, I want you to know that. So I do have a horse in the race. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt. But for what it's worth, on a critical level, I felt that this was a very, very strong DLC. But it's really quite complex what it does, and it adds this meta layer that you have to engage with called the Maritime Trading House system. And that it really requires the player, in my opinion, it requires the player to be able to know, to have knowledge of some of the more abstract systems in the game. For example, the way that you would generate credits. It's not that simple in Shadow Empire. Especially if you're playing, on a Thalassa class planet, for example, which is what I did in one of my playthroughs. You ain't got much space to actually build cities, right? So if you've only got a handful of cities, and maybe you only two, you've got to figure out how to generate the credits that the maritime trading houses are asking for them to do all the various things that you need them to do, like be able to get to another continent. So until later in the game when you can just kind of fly there yourself, but it's quite difficult, and I think that it, like, in the interests of sort of transparency, I always say to players, if you're a new player, I wouldn't worry about Oceania for a bit. Just play the base game, because Oceania is very, very difficult. I think it's excellent content, and I was a bit disappointed to read some of the reviews. I think people they didn't get it. Like if you read most of the negative reviews, not all of them, but a lot of them are just kind of, they're talking about how the maritime trading houses don't feel that good to kind of like deal with. Some of them are just kind of complaining about the fact that there's no trade, there's no controllable navies. But just so you know my point on this, by the way, I don't care about hex-based naval combat. I don't think it really works very well. It's not very realistic. Navies don't operate like that, really. They tend to work in terms of missions, right? So they're given a base, of operations, or they're patrolling in a certain area, and then they will have missions assigned, whether that's to like search and destroy or to escort things. They don't like, so if you go and check out a lot of classic war games, the best ones tend to have navies done on like a sea lane kind of mission based thing, rather than actually moving ships hex by hex, because that's just kind of, it's unrealistic, and I don't think anybody really needs more counters to push in Shadow Empire. Now, regardless, Vic's put some plans up, some speculative stuff that he's put on his website if you want to go and check out what his thoughts were. I think he put a poll up back in December. But suffice to say, my personal view is I'd probably rather see sea lane based, kind of sea zone based, mission based naval stuff. But I do think that if he does that, he's got to come up with some way of pleasing people who wanted the counter, the traditional kind of crappy hex based naval stuff. The other thing that I would say is that, just in my experience of playing games for years and years, when you do hex based naval stuff, the AI just can't do it. It's never been able to do it. One of the most popular mods for Civ 4's Fall from Heaven 2 is actually called More Naval AI, or Better Naval AI, I think it's called. And More Naval AI, that basically it changes the game so that the AI can actually do naval landings better. It's really, really not a trivial problem when it comes to game AI. And so, that's going to, I wonder if that's in the back of Vic's mind a little bit as well, because it's a Shadow Empire's AI is pretty good for a 4X. It's really good, actually. But, when you start introducing, naval landings and things like that, kind of complicates things in a big way. So, yeah. Anyway, but that's Oceania. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Oceania is because, I think this was a missed trick. So if you passed on this one thinking, I wanted, naval stuff, but you're good enough at the base game, I would advise you go and check this out, because the meta game, the Maritime Trading House meta layer that it adds is really, really cool, in my opinion. I really like it. But what I want to talk to you about is the fact that I think that because of the quality of this content, you're going to see something similar likely in Republica. Now, I don't know what really great, I don't really know what's going to be in Republica, because I'm not privy to that information, but I would expect the level of content, and let's have a look at the screenshots he's put up, actually. Okay, right, so hang on a minute. That's the wrong one. Sorry, let's go back to Republica. Okay. Syndic faction has officially been founded. Okay. Laws overview. Well, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so we've got all these laws, compulsory education law. Tonyside has attracted the ire of the population with his or her expensive jewellery, protests at his residence in Adolium. This is cool, man. I like it. I've bought Compound SFS for 50 credits. Okay. That's a social standings feat. The decision to apply pressure to vote against to vote against has changed government with -3.3% or -3. Also cost you 20 political points. Okay. Syndic Sacred School is now calling the Parliament to vote whether to enact the Universal Medical Care Law. Okay, so this looks like, right, okay. Just off the top of my head, this is going to be adding more detail into the simulation layer of Shadow Empire. So I think a whole lot of people will be playing Shadow Empire more like a war game, I think. And I think this is going to be, this might be the sort of content, like for example, me, when I play Shadow Empire, I love the military side of it and I live for it, but I also absolutely love the simulation and economic gameplay in Shadow Empire. I think it's really, really cool, and it's really crunchy and deep, especially with the sort of indirect way that you have to interact with a lot of it. And it's part of what makes Shadow Empire an S tier game for me, because that a lot of that stuff can be ignored on the very low difficulty settings when you're a new player, and it can be it's kind of like automated, so the game will sort of naturally do some of that stuff for you, in terms of things like population growth and sort of like the minor trade, things like militias that form to help to give you extra units. But when you become an advanced player, you know how to stack the odds in your favor so you can make these things happen. Okay, and I think if there's more of that kind of gameplay, I'm going to love it. This is exactly what I want. And a lot of people like Shadow Empire for the detail, for the fine detail. So adding more, more ways to interact with things like the political systems and, more gameplay. Let's just have a look at this. What are we looking at here? Key info. Oh, this is just the leaders. Operational, is that society? Operational society type. Okay. Pioneer prospector completion. This looks like a new profile system almost. I'm really intrigued to see what's going on here. I'm gonna have to ask Vic. But this is really cool. Like, this is looking really, really cool. So yeah, I feel like if Oceania added way more, added this kind of extra like meta layer on top of the game that, that allowed you to, that kind of really demanded that you knew the game mechanics a little bit more deeply so that you could kind of get this, to really turn your small nation into a kind of rip-roaring economy so that you can really dominate the maritime trading house metagame thing. I feel like this is just kind of increasing the detail of the simulation in the, in more on a base game level. And I really like that. I think these two systems will play quite nicely together as well, because this looks like it's going to be quite separated from the Oceania content to some extent. Oh man, this is really good. I really want to. I'm still playing a Shadow Empire game, which I want to get finished. And when I've finished, I am going to play an Oceania game next, I think, because I'm really dying to get my teeth back into Oceania. I didn't finish my last Oceania game, and I was really enjoying it. And I'm going to put it on a little bit more of a reasonable map next time. But I really like its artwork, and the artwork's loads better now. So yeah, this is cool. Yeah, go and check this out, guys. And I'd be interested to hear what you think. What did you think of Oceania? And what do you think of the Republica DLC? Are you interested in checking it out? I've wishlisted it. So yeah, I kind of want to. Yeah, I want to get people's eyes on this, because come and check this out, guys. I don't think this is going to need much help. I think that Shadow Empire is such a popular game at the moment, and for those of you who know anything about how to, to read sales figures off review scores, you can see this game's sold really well. It's sold for the kind of game it is. It's sold really, really well, and so I think that this is going to be I'm hoping that this is going to be a success, because I want more Shadow Empire, and Vic's got big plans for this game. If you've not heard them, by the way, if you go to the Explorminate podcast, myself and I can't remember who it was now. It would have been Daz, I think. Me and Daz interviewed Vic a few times. I think I've interviewed Vic at least twice. It might be 3 times now. And each time he's kind of given a little bit more insight into the way he works and his sort of thoughts for what's coming in the future of Shadow Empire. And in the last in the last interview particularly that we did, he was actually quite candid about what he was thinking. And he was talking about all this kind of like really far future stuff that may or may not be coming. And that's really exciting as well. So at some point, once I think if you go and check his roadmap, I think he's still kind of like planning on this stuff. But there's going to be a gold version of the game eventually, and the gold version of the game is just going to tie together. It's going to kind of like polish up all the content together, and this is the final version of Shadow Empire kind of thing. I think that's the idea. Whether anything comes after that, I don't know. But I'm excited to see where Shadow Empire goes. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.